Let's learn about a new chapter called Government at the Center. Let's study about the Parliament of India. Constitution of India, which came into force on 26 January 1950, it provides a bicameral parliament which consists of the President and two houses known as the Council of States, and these two houses are the Council of States, first one also known as Rajya Sabha, and the House of People also known as Lok Sabha. So Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha are two houses. The President of the Republic, he is elected by an electoral college consisting of the elected members of both the houses of parliament and the elected members of legislative assemblies, popular houses of the states. Legislative assemblies are the houses of the states. Though the President of India is a constituent part of the parliament, he doesn't sit or participate in the discussions of the either houses. President summons and prorogues the two houses of the parliament from time to time. There are some constitutional functions which he has to perform with respect to the parliament. Rajya Sabha is a continuing body. The power to dissolve the Lok Sabha, it vests in the President. His assent is essential for a bill to be passed by both the houses of the parliament. When the parliament is not in the session and he is satisfied that circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take the immediate action, then the President can promulgate ordinances having the same force and effect as laws passed by the Parliament. Composition of the legislature. The Parliament, central legislative body in India. It consists of two houses, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The members of these houses are known as the members of Parliament, that is MPs. In this image you see the Indian Parliament building. The Lok Sabha, as the name itself signifies, it is composed of representatives of the people chosen by direct election on the basis of adult suffrage. The maximum strength of this house envisaged by the constitution is 552, up to 530 members to represent the states and 20 members to represent the union territories, and not more than 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community to be nominated by the President himself. In his opinion, that community is not adequately represented in the House. In this image we see Sumitra Mahajan, the Lok Sabha Speaker. The total elective membership of the House, it is distributed among the states in such a way that ratio between the number of seats allotted to each state and the population of the state, so far so practicable, is the same for all the states. The qualifying age for membership of the Lok Sabha is 25 years. The Lok Sabha at present, it consists of 545 people. The term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. The presiding officer of the Lok Sabha is called the Speaker. The members of the Lok Sabha, they elect the Speaker and also the Deputy Speaker. The Speaker maintains the discipline in the House. The Rajya Sabha consists not more than 250 members. Out of these, 12 are nominated by the President for their special knowledge or practical experience in matters such as literature, science, art and social service. The remaining seats are allocated to various states and union territories, roughly in proportion to their population. Each state is, however, represented by at least one member. The total number of seats in Rajya Sabha at present is 245, including 12 members nominated by the President. The representatives of each state in Rajya Sabha, they are elected by the elected members of Legislative Assembly of the state in accordance with the system of proportional representation. Law-making procedure. The Indian Constitution gives the law-making procedure in the Indian Parliament. The primary function of the Indian Parliament is to make fresh laws and to revise or abrogate the existing laws. There are two types of bills, ordinary bills and money bills. Ordinary bills can be introduced in either house of the parliament, and after three readings, that is introduction, a detailed discussion and voting, the bill is sent to the second house where a similar process is followed. If the second house doesn't agree to or suggest changes which the first house does not agree or does not act upon the bill within the 6 months, a deadlock is created. And when a deadlock is created between the two houses, the President summons a joint session of both the houses. Thus session is presided over the Speaker of Lok Sabha, and the deadlock is resolved through a vote by a simple majority. Once a bill is passed in both the houses, it is sent to the President for his or her assent, and if he or she signs the bill, it becomes an act or a law. Lok Sabha has been given greater law-making power in composition of the executive. The President of India is the head of the state. System of Government of India is a cabinet form of the government. The Indian President is therefore a constitutional head like the King or Queen of Britain. That is, all executive powers are constitutionally vested in him, although those are actually exercised and executed by the cabinet. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Defence Force and he is the first citizen of India. President is elected by an electoral college which consists of the elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and Vidhan Sabha of the state. He or she must be at least 35 years of age and the term of President is 5 years. In this image we see Pratibha Patil, the first women President of India. The powers of the President. Executive power. President is the head of the Union Executive. All executive powers are exercised in his name. The executive power of the Union to be exercised by the President, it is extended to the matters with respect to which Parliament has the power to make laws and to conclude the treaty and agreement. President appoints the governors of the state, judges of the Supreme Court, High Court, the Auditor General of India and many other higher officials such as the members of Finance Commission, Election Commission, Union Public Commission, etc. President also appoints the Prime Minister with the advice of other ministers of the Union Council of Ministers. President may be required to exercise his discretionary power for some time to come in appointing the Prime Minister in case of legislative power. President is the part of Parliament. The Union Legislature or the Parliament, it consists of the President and two houses of the Parliament. President is therefore an integral part of the Union Legislature. He shall summon from time to time, either separately or jointly. The President can prorogue the houses or either house of the Parliament, and if necessary, he can dissolve the lower chamber of the Parliament known as Lok Sabha. President may address either or both the houses of Parliament. In such address, at the first session, after the general election to the Lok Sabha, and at the beginning of a joint session of the Parliament each year, President nominates a number of members in both the houses. The chief purpose of the nomination is to ensure adequate representation in the Parliament of all the sections of the population, which may not be always achieved through elections. The President has certain functions in respect of passing a bill. A bill passed by both the houses of Parliament requires his assent in order to become an act. He may give his assent to a bill or can withhold assent when a bill, after getting approved in both the houses, is placed before the President. Power to promulgate ordinances. An ordinance is a temporary law which is issued by the President when Parliament is not in the session. These ordinances have the same status as laws but are valid for a period of 6 months. Financial. President causes the annual budget of Union Government to be laid before the Parliament every year. The President gives assent for money bills to be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Emergency power. The Constitution of India empowers the President to proclaim three kinds of emergencies: national emergency, emergency for the failure of constitutional machinery in a state, and financial emergency. A national emergency can be declared by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister in the event of a war, external aggression, a national calamity, or a disaster. A state emergency, also referred as President's rule, it is imposed when there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery in a state. In this situation, the President takes over the functioning of the state executive and the governor administers the state in the name of President. When the financial stability of the country is threatened, the President can declare a financial emergency. Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of India, as addressed in the Constitution of India, he is the Chief of the Government, the Chief Advisor to the President of India, Head of the Council of Ministers, and Leader of the majority party in the Parliament. The Prime Minister leads the executive branch of the Government of India. Prime Minister is the senior member of the Cabinet in the executive branch of government in a parliamentary system. In this image we see Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister selects and can dismiss the other members of the Cabinet. He allocates the post to the members within the government, and he is the presiding member and chairman of the Cabinet and is responsible for bringing proposal of the legislation. The resignation or death of the Prime Minister dissolves the Cabinet. Prime Minister is appointed by the President to assist the latter in the administration of the affairs of the executive. The Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers is appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. It has three ranks of ministers: Cabinet Ministers, the Ministers of State, and Deputy Ministers. Cabinet Ministers occupy the highest rank and they have charge of most of the important ministries. A Minister of State, he may assist a Cabinet Minister or may be in complete charge of a department. Deputy Ministers help the ministers under whom they work. All ministers must be MPs. If they are not members of the either house, they must get elected to the Parliament within the 6 months. Accountability is important that in a democracy, the government must be accountable to the people. Parliament has members who represent the common people of India. It tries to ensure that the government is acting according to the interest of the people. A calling attention motion may ask a Prime Minister for clarification on a serious issue. An adjournment motion may be used to start a debate on an important issue. The Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the legislature.